Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and a maintenance tip for you. As you saw from the title, this is about stages, power meters, and I'm only speaking on behalf of the Gen 1, and at the present time I'm only talking about the left crank arm. I don't know if it'll work for other, the left-right setups or Gen 2, Gen 3, right? So this is predominantly for Gen 1, although I think it might apply for the others. So a little history. On May 4th, I set out to do a 375 mile, 26,000 foot brevet. And it rained from about 10, 11 p.m. all the way through till 8 a.m. the next morning. And so somewhere along the route, I looked down at my power meter display and I was like, oh, these numbers are way off. And I kept trying to do a calibration, either stopped on the side of the road or, on a shallow descent, just take my feet out of the pedals. And I was getting really, really high numbers. Now, if you have been paying attention to your calibration number, it's usually between 850 to 950. So when you start to see numbers that are above 950, above 1,000, and I was seeing numbers upwards of 1,500, then obviously your power data is off. So what I started Googling like everybody else does, I started going onto YouTube, and those sources, I started to see some commonality with some of these folks. So water intrusion, yes, by the way, when I pulled off the battery cap and pulled out the battery was wet. Not only was the battery wet, but so I did the event on Saturday through Sunday, finished at 1 p.m., so 32 hours. I didn't do obviously anything with my bike Sunday. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday when I went to do an active recovery ride and my power data was still off. I took out the battery and that's when I noticed there was actually oxidation. So that's when I realized, okay, I've had water intrusion. There are a couple of other hacks along the way that I tried. One is to take the coin cell battery and short out the system. So you have tabs on the side. I don't want to take my stages apart at the moment, but you know where the battery goes in. There's little prongs at the bottom that are in the center, and then on the side there's little prongs. So you want to make sure that those prongs are making contact with the battery. That's one thing. Number two, you may want to take the coin cell battery. Some people have said you turn the battery backwards and that'll do it. But take the battery and then make contact with the ones on the side and the one in the center. And that'll short it out. And I've seen things like 10 seconds or 20 seconds and then put the battery back in and then start the whole process of calibrating and, But none of those things were working for me, and I was still reading 1,1600. And a little more history. So Stages appears to have gone bankrupt. So there's no help desk. This is now May the 16th of 2024. So I was like, okay, I can't call Stages for any help. And okay, so then, funny thing, because of the bankrupt notice that, or the videos that have been posted, and I posted one as well, I came across Durian Rider's post. And, he talked about how he had a Gen 1 power Stages, how he's had it for X number of years, I don't remember. I've had this one probably 9 years. I mean, it's a very reliable power meter. And he said he had a Gen 1. Then one of the other things he said was, and if you get water in there, then just take the battery out and let it sit for 2 to 3 days. And I said, well, that's a really easy thing to do. I'll just ride another bike. And so I left the battery compartment open. And if you live in a humid climate, maybe that's not what you want to do. I left the battery compartment open. One of the other things I noticed while I was troubleshooting is I had put a brand new battery into the power meter before doing this 370-ish miler, 600 kilometer. And the ride time was only 27 hours. And typically a battery is, about 200 hours or so, 250 hours. It said it had 49% battery life left. So I'm like, okay, so I'll put a new battery in after 2 to 3 days of it sitting out or sitting open. And I went out today on a bike ride. And as soon as I put everything back in, found it in my Garmin computer, went to calibrate, 907. So I'm right in that window of 850 to 950, 907. And then, of course, go ride and see what you think. If the numbers make sense to you, then you're good to go again, right? Obviously, if you're going up a hill and you've never gone up that hill 300 watts, well, then the numbers are still off. Maybe let it sit another day with the battery compartment open. So I think the key takeaways are a couple of things. One, very durable unit if you get water intrusion, and yet all you have to do is let it sit for a couple of days, open air, and let it dry out. I actually tried to speed up the process with a hair dryer, but then I said, nah, I'm not going to put that much heat into these electronics in here. So I did it for like, a couple of minutes, and I'm like, okay, let me just stop here. So you can do that at your own risk. It's not something I recommend. So the takeaways are, it's a durable unit because I've had this thing since probably 2014, 2015. It's a 7900 Dura-Ace crank arm. So that's how old this Stages is. Let it sit 2 to 3 days, open air, put a new battery in, start from scratch with everything. I deleted the power meter off of my Garmin, refound it, recalibrated, and good to go. So anyway, I hope that this helps someone for water intrusion. Unfortunately, their caps, these caps and these O-rings, see, I have them labeled Gen 1, and I have some other ones for some of my other customers. I mean, these things, this has been the Achilles heel of this Stages power meter, but because it was affordable and reliable, it doesn't mean that it's accurate. As long as it's always telling you 200 watts for a given effort, you're like, okay, yeah, I can train to that. I am also a huge fan of the Favero Asioma pedals because that is a sealed battery system, and it's just a magnetic connector on the outside. So the battery compartment is sealed. There's no batteries to replace. There's no battery compartment for water intrusion. So I'm a big fan of those pedals too. Shane Miller is as well. I've had a pair for over 5 years. But the thing is that because of all the mileage that I do, usually no less than 10,000, the pedal bodies are worn out. And so the retention clip on the back it's worn out now. So I need to get new pedal bodies. I just haven't taken the time to do it. And I like my Dura-Ace pedals anyway. I like the cleat engagement. I ride fixed cleats, which I don't seem to have any here. Yeah, so I have these. These are the 6-degree float. Then there's a blue one that's for 2 degrees. And then there's the red cleats. Those are 0 float, which, you know, here I've got a speed play pedal, a speed play cleat that broke for another customer that I got to replace now. But yeah, that is what I think should work for you. Drop a comment down below. Let me know, hey, I tried that. I let it sit for 2 to 3 days, put a new battery in. If you can find some type of silicone grease or something to put to help the element to, you know, some grease will create an element barrier, additional element barrier. These, like I said, these O-rings are just so not a good design, which is what I think they improved in Gen 2, Gen 3. So anyway, that is all for today. I know some of you have not had success with the Stages power meters, but my goodness, I've had, and the reason I had this power meter is because I could put it when I had customers to demo power meters. I had purchased this as something, you know, as long as they were riding a Shimano crankset. Doesn't matter if it's 105, Ultegra, Dura-Ace, doesn't matter what year it is, as long as it's a pinch bolt style attachment, I could put it on anybody's bike and they could ride with power, whatever pedals they were riding. So if they were riding Speed Play or Look or SPD mountain bike pedals, I could put this crank arm and they could demo for a couple of weeks and say, you know what, I think I can see the value in riding with a power meter. So that power meter's been on a lot of different bikes. It's been on my bikes. I'm saying customers' bikes. So, okay, anyway, that is all for today. Please like and subscribe. Please make a comment down below if this hack worked for you. And I'll see you up the road.